Hey, everybody. It is Monday, November 27th, 2023, and that means it's time for the Splinterlands Town Square. Uh, I guess it goes without saying that this is a pretty big one. Um, it seems like it's finally happening. Tomorrow seems like the day. We have the some of the key players on here to tell you more about it. But we are going to be talking about land. But we can also talk about other things. We can also talk about Rebellion, which just got up on the Mavs server a little earlier than expected today. And as always, we'll be taking questions from the audience and chat if you want to talk about anything else. But the main focus is going to be on land with the 1.5 release right around the corner here. And that's exciting. We can talk about how nobody has enough DEC and other assets. And even though it is the town square, since this is again a bigger one than normal, we're doing the town hall format as far as streaming. And I'm happy to stay on a little longer if we need. Because we do plan to spend, we have some of the team members on, as you can see. We plan to spend a little time talking about what's going on here before we get into questions. So I'll stay on longer than the hour if if the community wants me to. So without further ado, I don't know who wants to go first here and start talking about what's coming up tomorrow.
Probably the land guys.
Well, that's kind of everybody is involved in land. But,
that's true.
Neil is like the key land guy. So
There you
take it
go.
away.
Yeah, so tomorrow's finally happening. I was pretty confident before, but once we did the copy of production into Mavs and saw a couple of little issues, it became clear we needed a little bit more time to polish everything up. But it's finally here. It's coming tomorrow, and I couldn't be more excited to deliver this to everyone. It definitely would not have gotten done without all the help from Harry, investigator, being able to go in and just do everything in the ops side. It's been a lot of work.
Yeah, that's to say the least. I mean, some people say that men can't have babies, but Neil, I think this is this is your baby here. It's taken at least 9 months of like hardcore work and pain and suffering to get to this point. Uh, Investigator, do you want to talk about some of what's involved to actually put this out here?
Yeah, so this is been a long development effort, as I think everyone already knows. So this is going to be, we've done 2 trial runs of updating production database so far. The first one was a good 12 hours, just to give people a time frame reference, where we found out that our QA servers will not run a production database without us adding more hardware. So that was our first learning experience. Then we did the second refresh of the maps database from production, and we did that one in about 5 or 6 hours, because we've got a good, was it almost 30 files of SQL changes that need to be run through. So we're adding a whole bunch of tables, we're changing a whole bunch of tables, we're adding data into all kinds of stuff for land. We are trying to do some stuff ahead of time. So Butcherblock, our main database staff member, is looking at doing some pre-work, adding some stuff basically today, so that we can skip doing it tomorrow, or it'll already be done by the time we get there tomorrow. But we expect it to be a fairly lengthy update.
Yes, we should expect a longer than normal downtime tomorrow.
We will try to keep people appraised on Discord of our progress, probably hourly. We're not going to give you blow by blows, but we'll just let you know we're still working on it and when we think it's going to come out. Plus, we want to do run through testing once we get it actually deployed before we go live, to make sure everything went right, since with production, it's a lot more of manual database steps for QA. We've got clean databases where we can just run through an automated setup. We don't really do that with production because we don't want to mess with live data without being very careful.
Yeah, that sounds like quite the ordeal. I have to say thank you, investigator, and the rest of the team that does this now instead of me. Yeah, for those of you, I mean, we have a lot of people I'm sure that are listening who've been around for a number of years, but anyone who's newer, they don't know how much I like would screw up releases all the time and how many problems there would be. I did the best I could, I guess. But we have people who are a lot better, a lot more qualified to handle this stuff now. And it's a much better experience and has been for a long time. I'm still amazed every time. Like I still have like PTSD doing these like launch parties for things because I'm like I can't be on a stream talking about it because everything's going to be breaking and I'm gonna have to spend the next week responding to customer service requests. But that hasn't been the case in a while. I will say though for everybody, land is far beyond anything else that we've done as far as new releases. I mean, it's effectively an entirely new game that we're releasing. It's not just a new set, it's not a new feature, it's not an update to ranked battles or something. Um, it's literally an entirely new game that we're launching here within the existing framework of the existing game. So we have all the old code and all the tech debt and all that stuff that we're trying to shoehorn this into. It's not even a new game with like brand new clean code base. So even though we feel that we're ready to release it tomorrow, I am almost gonna guarantee that there are gonna be some bugs and issues that you just won't find until you get this out in production. And it's also part of the reason why, we have to put it out in production at some point. We could keep testing forever and probably keep finding things and delaying forever and ever. So I guess I would ask the community to bear with us for a little while here. Obviously, when we look for people to report bugs and issues that they find, we're going to work on fixing them as quickly as we reasonably can. Um, but there might be all kinds of things. Maybe there's some calculations that are off in certain situations or whatever. And we're going to take things one thing at a time and triage issues, and we'll get through this. And if that's not that's what I mean, that's part of what we're signing up for here. Everyone here who bought land many years ago. I know it's taken a long time, but this is like alpha first release of this stuff. There will be a time in the future when this is all going to be taken care of and running smoothly and perfect as we go to then release more stuff. So if you're not interested in kind of being one of the first people and dealing with some of the negative consequences that can come out of that, you don't have to, and you can wait. There's no harm in waiting on your assets. But for those of you who, like myself and the people on this call, have been waiting a long time and are up for trying this, I think it's going to be awesome. You'll definitely get a head start on everything, but we're going to have to deal with, what the inevitable issues and problems that arise. So just want to, be realistic with everyone and the expectations. Like we don't expect everything's going to be perfect. I think that's an unreasonable expectation for something this size, despite how other releases in the past have gone. They've gone extremely well, but they were much, much smaller. And, the team is going to be working on fixing those issues first and foremost. And then it's going to be going into the like 1.6 things that we're calling it. With, I think the first thing on that list is the grain DEC market. So that's going to be a big one. So I guess this is not like, we released Lamb 1.5 and it's done until 2.0, sometime next year. I think there's going to be kind of constant updates to it, not just bug fix updates, but like actual new features, new things that are added in here. We had a whole list of them in the announcement post from a few weeks ago. There's probably going to be even a few more. So, you can look forward to new things coming out, from here on forward until we get to the really big 2.0 release. And even as I'm going through the 2.0 white paper, which I am still expecting and planning to publish a draft of this week, I think there's a lot of things in there that don't have to be done all at the same time. So there's a lot of things we can work on and release, into 1.5 as sort of like, piecemeal rather than just everyone has to sit there and wait for a humongous phase 2 release. So that's, I'm looking forward to that too. So we're just going to have, a lot of constant updates going, from the team. So that's something to look forward to. Nate, I don't know. Did you have anything you want to talk about land art or lore or anything like that?
No, I think. Well, I mean, sure, but it's basically pretty straightforward. It's basically riding the coattails of what you guys already said, which is essentially make use of the Discord UX channel, as Matt already mentioned, whether it's land or even Rebellion. I mean, Rebellion, like we hit Mao server and someone noticed, hey, where's the summoner on the battle screen? It's just an empty box. It's like, okay, well, we're still exporting assets. We're getting it implemented. I'm handing it off to engineering, and it's what you guys see on the Mav server is a work in progress. And the wonderful thing about that is you're part of that process. So to go hand in hand with the community and the whales of the community and the people who have invested the most in our ecosystem and all of you guys are extremely important to us. So all that feedback, all the stuff you guys think about how we could tinker and change. I think in the UX channel, Fat Jimmy was recently saying, what was it, yesterday or today? It's all a blur. Time's a blur. He was mentioning the little graphics, the little icons, the corrosive ward and the poison, and has one. They both have this green goop to them. I was like, yeah. I mean, at a quick glance, you might mistake that a little bit. Good idea. So I immediately went over and told our team, hey, let's try to make corrosive ward look a little more like rust, not blood, but or maybe like the shield's melting a little bit, or like we'll try to squeeze that in before December 5th. We'll see, but we'll review some low hanging fruit options, and we'll make that change. That came from the community. That came from a player, and we want to see more of that as much as possible. Same thing with land. Some of you guys might be tinkering with land tomorrow and be like, wow. This could be a little more polished, whether you're talking about the UX or the UI or the graphics or the this or that. And you would be right. I take no offense at that. If you guys tell me, the UI could be better here, I agree. So let's work together. Let's make it better. Let's make it the polished experience that we want. And as Matt mentioned, it doesn't have to be this one big lump, boom. It could be a bunch of little tiny exciting updates that every Tuesday we take, we're able to work a little bit, refine it a little bit more with you guys' help, and get it to where it needs to be well before 1.6 or 2.0. Let's just crank it out every day, all the time, every week. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I've seen a lot of feedback already, whether it's Rebellion or Land, and we're excited. Just know we're excited to get that feedback. Keep it coming. We won't always agree, but we like hearing it, and we like seeing it. And a lot of, I would say, a good majority of the time, we say, "You're right. Let's fix that," and then we do. So that's pretty much all I got to say right now, I suppose.
That's a good point about the UI updates because I mentioned, feature updates for 1.6 after the 1.5 release tomorrow. But like, there's also, I imagine, going to be lots of UI updates and like, convenience type of features added. I think we're gonna, there's all sorts of ideas of like auto filling for plots, and things like that. So it again, tomorrow's release is just going to be the start of this. It's not going to be the end. From every perspective. So I hope over time we're going to get this, to be really solid. Also from a UX standpoint, really easy to understand and follow. And again, we're probably not going to be there yet tomorrow, but we'll get there. And I've played around with the Peak Monsters QA site that's pointing to the Mavs server, and they have some autofill options. So those are great, and I think it's awesome that we can lean on some of our third-party developers to build some of that stuff before we get to it. So if you haven't checked that out, definitely do that. It'll help the people with large land holdings, at least, or large card collections, to manage their land. So that was a real good point you brought up. I saw some. I was going to talk a little bit about the economic stuff and DEC, and there was a question I saw about the flywheel, and a little getting into the plans and thoughts for Land 2.0 and beyond. Um, any of you guys have anything you wanted to talk about before I sort of launch into a little speech on that?
There's a couple of things I want to touch on before we wrap up, but we can go into that after economics. I do have one number for you, though. I was talking to Royal and Support, and they gave out 55 million DEC to people on MAV servers so they could set up their land plots. So they did not have, just from the people that went in, 55 million DEC short.
Yeah, and that I wasn't even included in that list, and I am tens of millions of DEC short. I've been like waiting to see. I thought like, oh, we had to release that, we had to delay the release, and I was like, okay, maybe DEC is gonna dip a bunch, and I guess it did get down to like 0.9, but I was sort of waiting for a bigger dip to go by, and I missed my opportunity there, so I'm not sure if I'll get it again. But yeah, no, that's a good point. And one of the things, a lot of people are thinking about, oh, how much DEC do we need just to stake on land for our worker cards? But I want to remind everyone that that's like just going to be only one piece of the puzzle where you need DEC for land, especially as we go forward. So the first thing I mentioned that we're planning to add after the 1.5 release is good is that grain market, the internal market. And so that's an AMM pool where you're going to need to pair grain with DEC. So that's another thing, like, players who want to provide liquidity to the pool, which you can actually earn. It's one of the only ways in the game you can earn DEC from the swap fees. But you're going to need DEC, and you're going to need to sort of lock it up in the pool, just like you need to lock it up on land for your workers. And as we get towards Land 2.0, that internal market is going to be. I think that's going to be actually one of the biggest things economically for this whole land expansion and for the game in general. Is the internal market in phase 2, when there's 50 plus resources all paired to the DEC token. And there's planned to be a special resource that you can only get by providing liquidity. So there's going to be a lot of incentive to provide liquidity, and everything in the game, all the players, you're going to need all sorts of resources, and nobody even, the goal is even for the 2 region people that to not be able to create as much of all the resources as they're going to need. So everyone's going to need to use that market, and everyone's going to need to be trading. So if there's a ton of trading volume, there's going to be a ton of fees, and so there's going to be a ton of incentive for players to provide liquidity. And all of that liquidity, every single resource worth of liquidity, is going to have to be paired with DEC. So that right there, I mean, I can't predict exactly how much that's going to be, but that could even be a larger DEC, think than just the DEC being staked for worker cards on land. And it's not something that's required. It's just if you want to provide liquidity and earn those rewards, you'll need the DEC for it. And then, in phase 2 and beyond, you're going to need DEC as part of the upgrade costs for the buildings, and you're going to need DEC for maintenance costs for the buildings, and you're going to need DEC to buy certain resources if you're unable to earn enough. And that's all on purpose. I mean, we're not trying to have people like run out of DEC, but the whole economy is built around needing DEC. So all of the value coming into the game in the future is going to be funneled through DEC. And then we expect to see a lot of SPS burning. So we started to see the beginnings of SPS burning happen recently as DEC's kind of like, flirted with the peg level. But eventually we're going to get to the point where just people just need DEC for everything, and not just land, right? We're going to be releasing promo cards, and it'll be required, not required, but it'll be used for Rebellion going forward. Once the general sale starts, and even if you use credits, then we, the company, basically take the money you use to buy credits, and we have to buy at least 50% of that worth of DEC to give to the DAO to fulfill the DAO's 50% share of the revenue. So the whole thing, like, this is what we've been building for, I'd say, like the last 2 years now, is setting up this system in exactly this way, where everything, all of the money that is coming into this game and the ecosystem goes into DEC, and then players, there's literally just not going to be enough DEC that exists, so you're gonna have to start burning SPS to mint it, and that's the flywheel, and the point. We also have to continue to make and put out great products that people are going to want, and then therefore spend DEC on, right? So that's where land comes in, that's where rebellion comes in, and that's where all sorts of future things that we're going to be doing is going to come in. We release these products, players need DEC to get those products. People burn SPS to mint that DEC because there's not enough. That should cause the SPS price to rise, the value of SPS to rise, and that makes all the things in the game, all the products, more valuable, right? Because SPS is the reward token. So that's literally my description of the flywheel. Nate, I don't know. I sent you over a little bit ago. I know you guys have been pretty busy, but I asked Nate and the creative team to work on a graphical depiction of the flywheel that's easier to take in. So hopefully we can look for that in a not too
Definitely.
distant future.
We'll get her done.
Yeah, not the highest priority. But the one of the things I don't think people are considering is that, like, the staking DEC for worker cards on land is just one of the many pieces that are going to require DEC tokens. And for the one thing I was thinking about, as DEC is relatively close to the peg price, it may be more beneficial for me to actually just buy SPS instead, and wait a little bit of time and start burning the SPS for the DEC as I need it. So I think that's exactly the type of thought process that I'm hoping people in the community are going to start having. As you need DEC for things, yeah, you can just go buy it on Pancake Swap or on Hive Engine or whatever, but if we see a lot of SPS burning and that creates more value for the SPS token, it may be more cost efficient to just buy SPS, see if the value goes up over time, and you can burn it and get more and more DEC. So these are the type of things that I'm personally thinking about as I try to figure out how I'm going to position myself for the future. And so these are the type of things I wanted to talk about. And as far as the question specifically was, do I think the flywheel is going to start tomorrow? I mean, I think the flywheel has actually already started. I mean, we started to see SPS burning. That to me is in significant quantities, not a whole ton, but significant. Um, and that's the start. That marks, in my opinion, the start. It started, within the past month, I think. But I've said this before. I'll say it again. I think that it's going to take time before it really kicks off. Like, there's a slow. It's just the start is slow, and then hopefully it goes like this. And it's slow because there's still a lot of excess resources in the system, and our assets in the system, and all the assets, they're all intermingled and correlated. So all the cards can be burned for DEC or sold for DEC. And a lot of those things may start happening before people are actually buying DEC or burning SPS for DEC. So I think a lot of people in the ecosystem are going to utilize the assets that they already have to get what they need until those run out, and then that's where things really kick off. So we've sort of kicked off that first step of the process where people are starting to utilize their other assets, and we're seeing those come out of the system. So the land release tomorrow is going to be a huge help for that, right? With people needing the actual cards to stake on land, that's going to get a whole ton of supply sort of off the market when people are using them. And so that's going to be a big step in the right direction. We've talked about having a burning event for cards to get a bunch of prizes similar to the DEC burning event we had in May. And we're looking to do that, early next year sometime. So that's going to hopefully, I just want to try to use things like that as a way to kickstart this whole process a little. But in my opinion, the flywheel has started over the last month, and now we got to kind of burn through all the excess in the system. And then that's where it really kicks off, where everything, once the excess in the system is out of the way, then everything goes right to SPS, because that'll be the only way left really to get DEC. So obviously we've been working on this for 2 years or so now. I mean, this specific mechanism for the economy. So I am super excited just to really see that happen and see what can happen with it. And land is the key thing that's going to kick off that whole process. So that's my little economy spiel that I had. Um, and Investi, did you have a few more things you wanted to touch on?
A couple things for the update tomorrow. I know we kind of talked a little bit about duration, but I saw that people were asking. So expect several hours. Couple things related to that. We're definitely going to need to stop our block processor and have everything turned off at a certain point. And when we turn it back on, we're going to want to wait for it to catch up before we turn things over. While we're in downtime, please do not submit a lot of blockchain transactions to Splinterlands for us to process when we come back up, because that's going to drag out the downtime before we turn the server back over to players. Related to that, we're also probably going to look at not starting the SPS pool until we are bringing the server live. So there is not a call to try to race in and grab any previous pool of SPS. So everyone will be starting with a fresh slate. We may actually push that out by a little bit after the server comes up, just so there's time for people to get in and then race for try to build the first shard mines.
I think that's a good idea.
I did see one other question from Vivette V that's related to the update, asking if we're going to take a snapshot because it's a big update. We take a snapshot pretty much every time we touch the database, as well as regular snapshots, just in case anything happens. But we're definitely going to take one for tomorrow. You don't need your assets in any particular place. We're just going to have, a backup copy of the database. So hopefully we won't need it, but we'll have one in case we do.
Yeah. So for the whole SPS thing, I think the idea is that there'll be a little bit of time after the release, after the site comes back up, before SPS rewards start going out. Because we don't want everyone trying to jump over each other and banging on the site and the database and the blockchain, trying to get in there first and causing problems for everybody. So the idea is that everything should come back up. Players can start utilizing their land and staking their cards and getting their shard mines going, and the SPS rewards will start at some point a little bit after that. So a number of people can take advantage of it together, and not like some bot that gets it first is going to have any advantage. Yeah, that's good. Thank you, investigator. Best of luck to you and the release team tomorrow. Sorry to put you guys through this, but I don't know any other way to do it.
Well, our big hope is just everything goes smoothly and we get it done within the normal workday at our all.
Yeah, no, definitely.
You're burning midnight oil trying to get land live.
I think now that we've had 2 dry runs, this really should go very smooth. Like the second attempt was way less than 12 hours, so this time it should hopefully reduce again by at least half.
Dang it, Parp, you just jinxed it.
No, I'm knocking on wood right here, so we're good.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. One of the other things I wanted to talk about, like land in general, was the research, and the secret of Praetoria. So, land 1.5, one of the things I've also said is that, in the scheme of things, land 1.5 is actually pretty small as far as, what you'll be able to do. It's a large technical undertaking, but really what we're building is the same underpinning system that's going to be for the entire land ecosystem and all the different resources and all the buildings and all of that. But to start, you'll only be able to do 3 different things, basically, get grain, SPS, or research. So grain you're going to need for all the other things. So that one's pretty self-explanatory. SPS is also self-explanatory. People will want SPS tokens for all the things that SPS tokens can be used for. We just talked about, using them to burn for DEC, which is a good use case. But the one that is a little nebulous on purpose is research. And I've mentioned a bunch of times before, and I'm going to say it again. I am going very heavily on research. I feel, SPS. I can buy SPS if I need SPS. I've been mining, not mining, but I've been earning SPS since it launched as much as I possibly can. So I'm pretty good on the SPS front. But research is something you're not going to be able to just buy. It is going to be a soul bound token, or bound to each region, each account within each region within the game. And that is going to be the main resource to contribute to the Secret of Praetoria project. There's going to be more information about that coming out shortly with the Land Phase 2 white paper. But the Secret of Praetoria project and contributing to it, to me, is going to be one of the biggest like reward mechanisms for the land expansion in general. Like, that's going to be the one area where the majority of the rewards are going to come from in one way or another. So even like key components for the item and spell crafting, which are the main utility of land, is going to come from contributing to the Secret of Praetoria project. So you're not going to be able to craft items and spells unless you have these certain resources that they're going to be called gemstones, that are only going to be available by contributing to the reconstruction project to uncover the secret. And there's going to be all sorts of ways you can contribute to that, by worker cards and resources, probably also staking delegating staked SPS to it. But the primary way is you're going to need to research, what you even need to construct first and foremost. And that's going to start tomorrow, right? So you'll be able to get a head start on that research tomorrow. So again, it's one of these things where you don't 100% know everything that you're going to be getting from it. Some of that information is going to be released with the white paper shortly, so you'll have a little bit more information. But that, I'm just letting everyone know that the Secret of Praetoria reconstruction project is going to be one of the primary methods of reward distribution for land, and research is what you need for that. So if you don't focus that much on research in phase 1.5, you will definitely be behind in phase 2 compared to all the people who did focus on research in phase 1.5. That may be a strategy. You may want to go for SPS, and that's fine, or grain, or whatever it is. But I just want to let everybody know that I personally am going very heavily on research. And there's also the prefix titles, which the only way to earn is to be to get more research than anybody else, or to hit certain milestones within your territory. So that's going to be the big thing. Like, the Secret of Praetoria is the name of the entire expansion. That's going to be the big thing, that drives this entire expansion, and hopefully one of the big things that drives the future of the game and the product. Some people in chat and previous town halls have compared it to the release of SPS. Like, that was the big thing that kind of propelled us to huge, kind of crazy heights in 2021 and got us to where we are now. My hope is that land in general, but specifically the Secret of Praetoria project and everything that comes out of that, is going to be the next big thing for us, as we hopefully come into another crypto bull market at roughly the same time. So it's a little bit of a mystery on purpose, again. So it's a little bit of a gamble, but if you're here kind of for the long term, and you don't need something that you can just sell for an immediate ROI, the whole goal of what we're building here is to provide value to that secret project, and research is the way to get in on that. So I just wanted to let the community know, again, I know I've gone through it a lot, but about the importance of research, even in this early phase. We've talked about a lot of land stuff. I think we've covered most things. I don't know if anyone has anything else land related, jump in whenever. I was going to touch on Rebellion a little bit, at least before we go into questions. That sound good to you guys?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll note that, the creative team has been very focused on Rebellion recently, because most of the creative work for land has been completed already. But once Rebellion's out and any little tweaks are done, the creative team, I expect, is going to be switching very heavily into Land 2.0, because they are going to have many buildings with many levels and many sources. So we're going to see Nate switching gears, I think, shortly, and we'll start to be seeing hopefully some some eye candy for that stuff in the near future. But in
Yeah.
the meantime, in addition to LAN going out tomorrow, Rebellion is now up on the Mav server. It went up a little earlier than expected. Surprise, we're a little ahead of schedule on something. So that's great. So everyone can start checking out all the new cards. I have to say, Nate, they look fantastic. I mean, not just the art, but the way the new frames highlight the art and everything. It's a really awesome, fresh look to the game. So that's great. And I think the new, obviously the tactics and the new abilities and everything, that the dual element summoners is just like there's so much here. It's kind of overwhelming. In the QA tournaments that I played in, with the team, I was very overwhelmed, and it's going to take some time to readjust to the new modern format. But I think that's a good thing, and that's where the skill in the game comes in. And I'm sure a lot of people are going to pick that up a lot faster than I am. But yeah, so we encourage everyone to jump on there and test it out on Mavs. Help us out and provide your feedback, bugs, issues, UI stuff, card stats, whatever it is. There's going to be some tournaments, maybe some guild brawls, some other things set up with prizes to encourage people to test and provide feedback. There'll probably be some bug bounties, for any serious issues that are found. So yeah, we really encourage the community to get involved and help out there, which I'm sure a lot of community members are excited to do that anyway, without me urging them to. But I'm gonna do it anyway. So I mentioned before, this is gonna be quite the end of the year rush for the Splinterlands ecosystem. My preference was not to have these both go out right close together. I know Investigator and some of the other team members' preference was that too, but the chips have fallen where they've fallen, and we're going with it. So we still are looking at and planning for next Tuesday, December 5th, to have the Rebellion release right on top of the Land release. That's tomorrow. So yeah, a lot going on at this point. Then I will turn it over to questions if Azaria or
I do have
Ron.
one quick note.
Oh yeah, shoot.
In our tech updates channel, there is a link. If you find any bugs with Rebellion, please submit them through there so they can go to our support team for triage.
Awesome. Yes. So check out the tech updates channel for that link, so you know where to. Please don't start DMing all the devs randomly with all the bugs or issues. So yeah, let's the Q&A session is now open. Feel free to post your questions in the town hall channel in Discord if you're not already there. I'm going to get through as many as I possibly can in the next let's say like 30-45 minutes that I have available. And the rest of you guys, feel free to stay on if you want to take any questions that are in your area of expertise, or if you have to jump off, that's no problem also. Let me see, where are we with the questions here? All right. Oh, Clay has a great question, which I appreciate him reminding me about, because I wanted to talk about it. As part of the DAO project manager responsibilities, would you be okay with handing off the responsibility of keeping the white paper up to date to me? It should be kept up to date in respect to previous proposals and upcoming changes. Yeah, 100%. We kind of talked about that a little bit in DM, but it's good to talk about that with the community. So the SPS white paper, as most of you know, has not been updated in forever, despite that there's been a significant number of changes to, most of them based on DAO proposals, to how the SPS system works. So I've actually been working with Clay to update that, and we're going to be, I've sort of turning that over to him, because it's really the DAO's responsibility to keep that updated and up to date. So hopefully the community can look for updates for that, and for it to kind of match what's actually going on. And then in the future, as there are more updates and changes and DAO proposals. Clay's going to be the one who's going to be on top of keeping the white paper up to date. And some people have asked me if we need proposals to update the white paper, and my answer is no. That we need proposals to update how SPS works, and then the white paper should just be always kept up to date on what those proposals that pass say. And so that's, I think, a perfect responsibility for Clay, who's now been hired as the DAO project manager. And obviously that's one of the things we can evaluate him on. If he's doing a good job, if the white paper never gets updated or if it's updated incorrectly. um, that's something we'll need to work on, or potentially get a new project manager to do that. But I'm sure Clay will be able to handle that just fine. But I want to be clear that DAO proposals should update how the system works, and the white paper should just be kept up to date to match that. So we don't need a separate proposal to update the white paper to match other proposals. Question from Intrepid Surfer: what role will vouchers play on land? Yes, vouchers, extremely important thing that I also forgot to mention. It's really getting a bit overwhelming because there's too many things going on now for me. I even have little notes of things that I want to mention, and I forgot to even put that in the notes. But I've been working on the Land 2.0 white paper a ton over the last couple weeks. Well, and even before that, but a lot more the last couple weeks because I know it needs to get out soon. And one of the key things I've been focusing on are vouchers. And so it's not just land. Right now there's just it's one of the I talked about oversupply of assets in the system, and vouchers fall into that category significantly. There's a huge oversupply of vouchers in the system, and that's really just because there hasn't been enough stuff that require vouchers or that allow vouchers to give a discount. So the point of the voucher token is really it's kind of the main it's like the liquid incentive for staking SPS tokens. So it's like we kind of look at it as SPS stake days. So the more tokens you have staked over time, the more vouchers you'll get. And initially, like I just want to go back into the history of vouchers. So I'm going to go on a little bit of a tangent for this question because it's an important question. When we first had SPS out, we wanted to have SPS requirements for things. We had promo cards and different things, new set releases, and we were like, well, we want to give benefits to people who have a lot of SPS staked. Obviously, that's the goal. I look at SPS as it's our it's sort of like our rewards system, our rewards program. It's how much you use our product, like all the value in the system. Like you kind of show how invested you are in the system through SPS. And people who've had other assets in the past, like they've earned SPS through the airdrop. So the SPS can represent your like commitment to this ecosystem. And then vouchers are basically the reward token based on that. So the more commitment you have to the ecosystem for the longer amount of time, the more reward tokens you get. And then it allows us to give benefits to people who stake more SPS in a better way. So instead of having to say like, oh, if you have 100,000 SPS staked, you get a 10% discount. That would just encourage, or you get like a free promo card or whatever it is. Those type of things might encourage people to just split up their SPS among a whole bunch of different accounts so they can just hit right at that threshold. Especially if we had like different thresholds, or then if you hit a certain threshold, you just be done. You'd be like, why do I need to stake more SPS? I hit the threshold I needed. So it didn't work really well. So that's where vouchers came in. It's the reward token for rewarding your players' overall investment in the system over time through their staked SPS. And it allows us to easily say, okay, well, we have this promo card. You need vouchers to get it in the pre-sale, or you can get a discount on it for using vouchers. So it's like literally just a kind of standard reward token in that way. And even if you stake a bunch of SPS and you're not interested in whatever promotions or things require vouchers, you can still gain the benefit of it by selling them on the market to other people who haven't staked SPS, which I think is cool. So it's sort of like if you're earning airline miles, but you don't fly a lot, you would be able to resell them to people who do, at a discount for them, and you're able to get value out of it. So that's exactly how we see vouchers. We've, I think, failed to deliver on that in the sense that the supply of vouchers far exceeds the amount of rewards you're actually able to get for them. So we've seen that reflected in the voucher price. We've seen that reflected in players' voucher balances being quite high. my goal is to change all of that, and that's all a key part of the whole. It's all intertwined, so it's a key part of the whole, SPS flywheel system. Um, is vouchers. So the specific details will come out shortly with the land phase 2 white paper, but there are going to be a number of things in the phase 2 white paper that are going to require a significant amount of DEC, and vouchers will give discounts on that. And we've been kind of going with a rate of 200 DEC per voucher, which is like roughly 20 cents, while vouchers are trading on third-party markets at around 3 cents. So, with land, when there's going to be a whole bunch of things where you'll get like significant discounts by using vouchers, my hope is to start really eating through that voucher supply. And I would like to get it to a point where there just aren't enough vouchers, right? So people are literally spending all of the vouchers they get to get discounts, and they're still buying more stuff in land and rebellion packs and promo cards and other things in the game, and they're just not even able to use vouchers anymore. It's just more, they'll just burn their SPS or whatever and just get DEC because they used up all their vouchers, and the voucher prices on the markets are pretty close to the level that they would, get a discount for. So that, it's, that you use up all the vouchers you have, and then you sort of pay full price for things from then on, which is again similar to airline miles or credit card points or whatever it is. If you're booking a trip, you have a certain amount of airline miles, you use them up. If the trip costs more than that, then you just pay for the rest. So the goal, again, not just with land, although land's going to be a big component of it, but with everything in the ecosystem, is to get it where there's just so many discounts and things that are only available with vouchers, that it's going to just eat up all the vouchers in the system. And it'll be a type of thing where people go and claim their vouchers, they spend them all on whatever they're getting, and they don't even have enough to cover everything. So that is the role vouchers will play on land. I'm going to try to answer the rest of the questions a little bit more quickly than the last two. But if they're really good questions, I'm gonna spend some time going into them. Question from Mongo Wombo. I'm trying to make sense of some on-chain data, and I'm working on a Dune dashboard for SPS on BNB and ETH. On BNB, there's currently one wallet address that gets SPS from the mint every hour. Doesn't seem to be a DAO account. What is this wallet? Let me see if I can check really quick. My guess is this is so this is basically the wallet. This is also a good question. So this might be a little bit of a tangent too. But this is the wallet that basically like backs all of the SPS that's held in game, right? So the idea was we kind of keep the balances on BSC and in the game in check. So as more SPS is released in the game for reward pools, we also mint it on BSC so that the the market cap and things and the total token supply that a lot of services and people pull from BSC, because it's easier to do than from Hive in our game ecosystem match. So basically, as SPS is minted in the game for all these different reward pools, it's also minted, in parallel and roughly equal amounts to the best of our abilities on Binance Smart Chain, and it goes into that wallet. In the future, I definitely is it a DAO account? I guess technically, sort of, but it's not a DAO account in that like the DAO owns that SPS and can use it. It's really like a bridge liquidity wallet. So if like everyone in the game were to unstake their SPS and bridge it over to Binance Smart Chain, like the actual tokens would come out of that wallet. And that's a manual process, so it's not automatic. So there's only a small amount of liquidity actually available in the TerraBlock bridge, just in case TerraBlock gets hacked or there's like a issue with the bridge or whatever. Like all the tokens can't be stolen, as has happened in the past. So we have alerts that will say, hey, the liquidity on the TerraBlock bridge is getting low on Binance Smart Chain. And then we manually move some tokens out of that address. And these are all the sorts of things that I hope to be moved over to like full DAO control in the not too distant future with multi-sig wallets. Clay, will probably be able to help me get some of that set up and organized. And also as we get into like releasing the SPS validators software, right? That will then the SPS validators will switch to be the like source of truth for all the SPS tokens, and then the Binance Smart Chain wallet will just be match that. But that's what it is in the short, is that it matches all the tokens that are locked up and staked on the chain, so that the levels on the token amounts of Binance Smart Chain roughly match what's in game, so we can handle liquidity for the bridge. Question: when grain DEC LP pool? Best guess, please. Farp, I don't know if you want to give a guess and then like add a month to it.
Yeah, so I've started coding that, so it's in progress, and once that's done, it's just waiting for creative to catch up with us again, because we're now in the point of development where we're back ahead of creative.
Yeah, that's good. Because we were behind for so long. And like I said, Nate is going to be, and then the creative team are going to be transitioning over to land, after Rebellion's all wrapped up. So we're not going to give a date on that one, but it is the top priority. Neil's already done a whole bunch of work on it, so you can take your best guesses based on that information. I'm a little sore from having given dates too much in the past. Young Eagles 95 is asking, I'm sure this is the last thing on your mind, but is there any idea when the new MAV requirement rework will be? I have a ton of assets in this game and have but a bunch of packs, or bought, I think that's supposed to be bought a bunch of packs, but through group buys and other methods, I'd like to get access to MAV at some point in the future. I don't know when, but I do know that is something we 100% want to do, and that's super important. And I would, my thinking, again, these things are off the top of my head, so these questions come up. I didn't know they were going to come up. I haven't spent a whole ton of time thinking about this yet, but I was just talking earlier about how like your SPS stake really is the main thing at this point that shows your commitment to the game. In the past, all we had was packs, like back in alpha and beta days. So you bought a certain amount of packs, you were a MAV. But at this point, I feel like it's all about your SPS stake, and if you've been buying packs and you've been participating, you've got SPS airdrops, you've been earning SPS. So assuming you haven't sold it, hopefully, you should have some SPS stake. And then as far as how we actually do it based on SPS stake, I don't know, but that could be a system where vouchers come in, right? So we don't have a situation again where it's just like hit a certain threshold and that's it. Maybe it could even be like a monthly type of subscription thing. You spend some certain amount of vouchers every month to get MAV status. I don't know. So these are ideas. I don't want everyone like running out and saying, "Oh, Matt said this is how it's going to be. This is what's happening." These are all ideas. I think we're going to obviously have a lot of input from the community and thoughts. Maybe the community comes up with other ideas that are way better than all the things I just said, and we go with that. Even though it's not specifically a DAO thing, Clay is sort of a community management person, can hopefully help organize the ideas and figure that out. But I would generally like MAV status to switch to being based on something related to SPS stake in the game, because that's the real way we're kind of determining your level of investment, and that's what we want to encourage. Let's see where we are. Question from Skyer NJ. When will the new weapons training form come into effect? I have one lady Zerial that wants to fight in full force. I think that's going to be part of the release next week, the Rebellion release. Investigator, correct me if I'm wrong. I think Call Me Tim's also listening in. So if I say anything dumb, just sound the alarm.
Yeah, the intent was for that to be part of the Rebellion set release next week. If it's been pushed out, I haven't heard, but it should be on Mav's server for testing, I believe. So you can go check there. If it's there, it's going out next week.
Cool. There we go. Yeah, Call Me Tim messaged me and he said correct. So we can look for that December 5th after the set is released. Killer Kev, and it should. I've been also told that it should be on the Mav server. So if you want to like see how your Zerial is going to perform, give it a try on the Mav server, and hopefully it goes well. Let us know if you find any bugs. Killer Kev Wins is asking, if I entered a tournament today, does that stop me being able to stake for land with those cards? That's a good question. My guess is it won't actually stop you from being able to stake those cards for land, but it may cause an invalid team on the tournament. Is
No,
that
it should be
wrong?
fine.
Yeah.
We moved the validation to be when you submit the team. So if you've already submitted teams for tournaments and they were valid at that time, it should be fine.
Okay, so ignore what I just said. Listen to Investigator. If you submit the team for the tournament and it's valid at the time that you submitted it, it's good for the tournament, and then you can immediately put those cards on land afterwards.
If it's not, it's a bug, and let us know because we'll need to fix that.
There you go. Question from Dagger 212. This may have been addressed, but when will the titles from the Rebellion sale be available for land? I think as soon as the Rebellion is released, you'll be able to claim your titles, and then you can use them on land right away. Is that right? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good question. I don't think I don't think I claimed my titles on the map server, so I'll have to go do that. Yeah, so give it a try on the Mav server. You can see how that works there.
That could be correct. I'm pretty sure we went and looked, and they had the bonus on the map server for the new titles.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure on Mavs I claimed my promo cards, but I don't know if I also got titles or where I claim that. I don't know. I will learn that along with you guys. Question from Birds, Bees, and Trees. Is it possible when you want to change summoners that we don't receive another message asking us if we're sure we want to switch summoners? Yeah, I guess. I feel like there's some people that might say we want more messages and warnings. Some people that might not. Maybe we can make that a setting or something. Can we have a timer of 5 extra minutes to set lineups in tournaments, especially the 24-hour ones? We compete against robots who wait to the last minute, so we should also be able to do that when we're able. But I got timed out and needed 1 win. Yeah, I think the timers for submitting teams in tournaments is a configuration setting. So if that's something the community wants, I think that's just can be configured for new tournaments. And if you create your own tournaments, then you can set that to whatever you want. So that should be something we don't even need to make any code changes for. Let's see. Question from Regional Manager Eco. Can we officially refer to land as the game now? At what point 2.0 does P2P ranked play become the sideshow? I mean, my hope is that it never becomes the sideshow, and it's all part of the game. I would hope that land isn't just the game. It's like like saying in Clash of Clans is building your base the game and collecting resources, or is attacking other people's bases and defending the game. It's all part of the game. So you know, to me, my hope is that these are all part of the game, and there are some people, the whole idea is that it might cater to different people. I'm sure there's a lot of people who do both, but there might be a lot of people who just like the card game and battling, and they're going to buy all their item and spell cards from people who have land. And there might be a lot of people who are just more interested in resource management games, and they will be the ones creating the item and spell cards. I do hope though, the goal of land is to make it, it's exclusive. There's a very limited amount. Like most of the people, hopefully, when the game grows and we have tons of people coming into play, like most of them are not going to be able to own land. It's just like literally not going to be possible. I would still like them to have a way to participate in land, even if they can't own any. And we have a whole bunch of ideas. There's a whole bunch of areas in Pretoria that are not player-owned land. That will still allow people who don't own land plots to participate in the whole land expansion as part of the game. We're talking about like PvE elements and things like that. So it should just be, for people who come in, a couple years down the line, it's not going to be like, oh, this is the land expansion and this is the battling. It's just going to be, this is all Splinterlands, right? So you guys only know it as that because it's been separated as we've been building it out. But hopefully it just all becomes kind of homogenized in the future. I saw a little comment, not a question, from Lewis88 about a new all-time high in Dow funds. So that's awesome to see. I think the whole setup with Rebellion and having 50% go to the Dow has been extremely helpful and awesome. And again, it's one of those situations where I think it's extremely beneficial for the company in the long term to give up some short-term revenue. Yeah, we're looking forward to seeing how that plays out. So thank you for the update on that. Question from Killer Kev Wins. Can we please open up Mav server for more people? I have 200k SPS and full CL Rift Watchers set. So please change requirements so people like me who are serious about improving and testing the game can take part. What are the requirements for the Mav server at this point?
I believe it is to have purchased, I think it's 1,000 packs now.
Is it 1,000? Okay, that's a good amount of packs. Are we planning to drop that down?
That is your decision.
Oh, yeah.
Let us know what you want to do for map status and we can change it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, well, it's not MAV status, but access to the MAV server at least for the next week for testing. So I do think it's
we did change it for Rebellion specifically. If you bought 100 packs, you can let support know. It's in the tech support post, and they will give you temporary access to test Rebellion.
Okay, there you go. So if you've bought 100 Rebellion packs or more, you can get in contact with us. We'll get you access to the MAV server so you can test out Rebellion. We do want to give some benefit for the people who have purchased in the pre-sale. So that's great to hear that you have a bunch of SPS and a bunch of the other cards. I've been talking this whole time pretty much about the value of having that SPS and to a lesser extent those other cards. But for this 1 week of specific testing, we want to encourage the people who have bought some Rebellion packs in the pre-sale. I think that makes sense. Question from Marshall. Actually, with the dual element summoners now, I think we're going to need that element filter, not just for summoners, but for the monsters too. So I'm pretty sure that's something that's going to be gotten in at some point. And my hope is that after all the craziness of Land and Rebellion dies down, we're going to have some time open for some of the team members to just start going and knocking out some of these little things. Like we've purposely not been doing a lot of these little things because we have these big things that need to happen. But I would like to, have some focus on getting out a lot of these smaller changes that in aggregate are pretty important. Starting, end of December, January timeframe. So hopefully we can look forward to a bunch of that coming soon. Dave McCoy, good question. Thank you for bringing it up. Can I please explain publicly what the default option is regarding Rebellion packs in ranked play, loot boxes or not? We have a confusing proposal, and I think it's important that we all know what happens if we don't pass any proposal. Yeah, so this one was my fault. I take the blame on that. I was asked, and I think it was on a town hall, and I answered the question off the top of my head. I didn't really spend a bunch of time thinking through it, and it's one of the things we missed, or I missed mostly thinking through a little bit for Rebellion, is what to do about cards in loot chests. And when I was asked on the town hall, I said, yeah, we always have cards in chests, so I guess the default is, or packs in chests, so I guess the default is Rebellion packs will just be in chests, and I didn't give it much thought. And Clay took that and confirmed with me, and I was like, yeah, I guess we usually have packs and chests, so why wouldn't we have packs and chests? And he went and put up that proposal because he and a lot of people in the community didn't think we should have Rebellion packs in chests in these circumstances. And now that I've had more time to think about it and to listen to the community members, I also agree 100%. I talked about the whole point of Rebellion as compared to Chaos Legion. Is that we want to maintain the pricing. We want to say this is the price for the packs, and there's not going to be a whole bunch of packs given out for free. There's not going to be huge bulk sales. There's not going to be all this stuff. And so giving out packs and chests is just giving out a bunch of packs for free. And I think that it goes toward defeating the whole purpose of what we're trying to do here and do this differently. So I do not think that packs should be in chests. And I'm going with that is the default option, and I'm going with it, and I'm making that call because one of the things that was part of the whole proposal to have the DAO sell, be in charge of the Rebellion pack sale and get the 50% revenue share, in that proposal was that the Splinterlands team is going to be the ones deciding on how those packs are going to be distributed and all the details of it. It was the only way we could really make that happen. We can't have a DAO proposal for every little detail. So as part of that responsibility, I am suggesting and saying that there should not be rebellion packs in loot chests. As I said again, I believe that defeats kind of the purpose of what we're going for with maintaining pack pricing. But that being said, if the community and the DAO feels otherwise, I would encourage anyone who wants to submit a proposal to include them in loot chests if you want. And please include the details of in what loot chests and in what amounts and anything we would need. I would be, if someone has questions, please reach out to me or Clay. We'd be happy to work with you to let you know what information we would need for a proposal. If the community wants to do it differently, we'll do it differently. But my plan is to go ahead with not having rebellion packs and loot chests. The proposal is still super helpful to see what the community's sentiment is on it. If the proposal, like, passes, then it's great confirmation. If the community is very against the proposal, then even I would work with someone or personally put up a proposal to put packs in chests because I want to go with what the community wants to do ultimately. But so I apologize for the confusion and for us not being more on top of that from the get-go. This is all a learning process. We have not done this before. I'm not aware of anyone who has done this before. So we're learning. There's going to be some things like this, but that's where I stand right now. Is us making the call would be no rebellion packs and loot chests, and if the community would like to change that, we should go ahead and submit a proposal that states otherwise. And even though rebellions plan to be released next week on the 5th, packs can be added to loot chests after that. It's not like it was released one way, that's it. It can be changed at any time. We can, if the community wants, packs can be added to loot chests later. If the community changes their mind through another proposal, they can be taken out later or adjusted. So nothing here is set in stone. I'm not doing good at doing short responses to these questions. I don't know how many questions there are left because I'm scrolling through as I go, but we might want to cut it off here. I think everyone's had a good amount of time to submit their questions. And, as always, we'll be back next week with a very rebellion-focused town hall, but happy to also talk about land and other things then too. So whoever's posting, the question cutoff, please go ahead and do that. And I'll see what else is left here. Question from ANK. Can we get a mint number to rebellion and future cards, and the mint number is only generated when a card is maxed? That would be a value add for all the collectors. Example, what would you buy if a max legendary card is mint number 388 for $100, or the same card mint number 6 for 120? I know which one I will buy. Also, it encourages more people to max out their cards. Yeah, 100%. I definitely want to get mint numbers, and I think mint numbers are awesome. There's a potential possibility we could even, do a little backwards looking and go and see, we could have the data in the database for when each card was minted. So we could possibly, I don't want to guarantee that, but we could look at going back at some point and doing that project. That'll be a little bit down the road. But yeah, we have to figure out how exactly that would work. So you have a suggestion of, only a max level card gets the mint number. I think that's a cool idea. Some other people had a suggestion that like we have mint numbers for the cards as soon as they're opened in the packs or gotten however you get them. And then when they're combined, it's just the smallest mint number is the one that stays. So I'm not advocating for any particular idea right now, but it is 100% something I would like to do. And it's on that huge list of to-dos that hopefully as we get more resources and more time, we can get to in the future. But thank you for bringing it up. And that was a good, cool idea to think about the max level limitation. Question from Stealth. Would it be fair to grant anyone with a Rooney entry to MAV server? I mean, I think for right now, when the MAV server testing is specifically focused on Rebellion, it makes sense to have a Rebellion pack purchase limitation. Again, it's only a 1 week thing. There's not really it's not any super special awesome stuff that you can get that you're missing out on. But in the future, we talked about already different requirements for MAV status, and I think having a Rooney may be a good other option. So like you have a certain amount of SPS staked, or you have a Rooney, or you need to spend vouchers, or you have a Rooney. A lot of the PFP NFT projects like Rooney are access to like clubs or groups. So I think that would be an awesome utility for it. So that's a good suggestion. But not for this like next week. Imno has a question. Have you given any thought to the next mini set? Could it go back to being a DEC burner, or will it be income for the DAO company? Yeah, I have some thoughts on it, but one of the things that is difficult is that things change so rapidly. And the next mini set is probably not at least for like 6 months out. And I'm sure that everything is going to be so entirely different in 6 months that like any ideas or thoughts that I had now would probably be completely out the window by then. So I try not to even like spend time thinking about that too much, because it's often all a waste. So I think we're going to wait till we get closer to when we would actually be releasing the next mini set and see what makes sense for everyone, and probably do it via DAO proposals at the very least, because the mini sets have historically been anything that was a DEC burner is sort of one of those things that is transitioned over to the DAO. So it's one of those things that will be up to a DAO proposal to determine how that will work. And it may be a situation where the company, like similar to Rebellion, where the company says, okay, we'd be happy to do this, but we need some funds from the DAO to help support this, and maybe we do a revenue share. I don't know, but like I said, everything's going to be super different probably when we get there. So we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But I know the creative team at least is thinking very far ahead and already starting to create new characters. I know Call Me Tim is thinking very far ahead on how we're going to plan not just the new mini set, but new core sets, and like how we're going to set up modern format going forward. And so there's like a lot of thought that's gone into it from that perspective. But from the like pricing and economy perspective, I want to wait and see. ZYO or Zio has a question. If 10 vouchers per wagon for conflict, how much vouchers will be burned, do you think? Why not 20, 30, or 50 vouchers per wagon to make vouchers be more valuable and increase the SPS stake reward? Yeah, that's a good question. So the 10 is not set in stone yet. I don't have a number off the top of my head for how many will be burned, but I'm sure some players can do some math. I think we've announced like roughly how many packs or cards will be available per wagon, and so you can kind of do some math based on how many packs are sold, how many wagons you think people will need and be burned. I'm definitely going to be spending some time at some point putting together some more numbers and uh, plans for it. And again, these things can also change, right? Again, it would probably be a DAO proposal in this case, but if we start the first conflict and the community feels like 10 is too much or too little, someone can put up a proposal for future conflicts to change it. But I think generally my goal is to, as I talked earlier, increase the need for vouchers across the board for everything. And hopefully that will increase the value of vouchers significantly to where like if vouchers get up to like the 20 cent level where we've been valuing them at, or like 200 DEC, that would mean it would end up being like $2 per wagon, and that could be a lot. So I'm kind of trying to think ahead a little bit, like, oh, we're going to be conflicts are going to be going on for a long time. Land is going to be out, land phase 2 is going to be coming, there's going to be new promos and new things. So I'm sort of like planning ahead for lots of voucher use cases versus the few that we have now. Question from Zip Gazda. Can you take a look at Nifty Arcade? I think they are renting cards 90% to bot lords. I think it's time to burn that cards you gave them, like Aggro had said. If they want to rent, they can rent from the SPL market. I do believe that there is a proposal to do just that. And I 100% agree. Probably best to burn those cards at this point. So I would support that proposal. Let's see, scrolling down here. Oh, thank you. Ron is faster at scrolling than me. From Virus at 806, question: in the previous set release, we got a large number of packs or DEC to buy packs on Mavs. Very few people to currently have the packs to try out a diamond deck. Could we get extra Rebellion packs in Mavs to help with testing? I mean, I'm fine with that. I'm, whatever we need to get the amount of testing that we want is what we should do, in Mavs. It's not production, so there's no problem with giving out packs to people there. But I leave that to Call Me Tim. Really, he's kind of in charge of managing Rebellion. So if he's still listening, he can uh, think about that, or otherwise I'll mention it to him. We hit the end of questions. So I just want to thank everyone, in this community. Like, I know I always want to thank everyone in this community because we wouldn't be where we are without everyone in this community. But especially right now, I know it's just been delay after delay. A lot of people bought land. I think it's over 3 years now since the first land pre-sale. So people have been holding this for a long, long time. I'm not happy that it's taken so long. Like I was just talking about earlier, we cannot predict what is going to be happening. But what I can predict is that we have a really awesome team of people who are going to try to figure out some way to make it happen. And we have a lot better people now than we had when the land pre-sale started, to make this happen and to make it happen. Like I've talked about in past town halls at some point, that like what I was initially planning for land was like much less than what we're doing now, because I knew I was mostly the one who's going to have to build it, and I knew I couldn't build most of this stuff. So the fact that we have a great team here now to do it allows us to do like 100 times cooler things and more things than we were initially thinking for land when we initially sold it. So that's fantastic. And I just really appreciate the support from the community and understanding with how everything's been going and how long this has been taking, and just understanding about how big an undertaking this is. And I hope that understanding and support continues after the release. As I mentioned at the beginning of the call, I expect, and I think everyone should expect, that there are going to be some issues. We hope that they aren't too severe, but there's going to be some. Some players might miss out on some resources. Some players might get extra resources. Who knows? We're gonna, our team is going to be working on them uh, as quickly as we can, and that's just all part of being a part of things from day one here. It's par for the course. If you're not interested in that stuff and you want a 100% polished and working project, wait a while, and we'll get there. But if you want to get in now, understand the situation that we're in. But that being said, it's an extremely exciting and long time coming day tomorrow. It's going to be a tough one, but hopefully not too tough on our investigator and the release team there. It's a lot to do, and it can be nerve-wracking making all these changes and putting things out in production. I know from experience there. So again, like the support from the community, the support from all of you is why we do this. So being salty and yelling is not going to make it's not going to help anything. It's not going to make things get done faster. It is not going to make the team more motivated. It's going to do the exact opposite, and it's only going to hurt your bags rather than help them. So all of you, everyone listening, all the community members, like, you can help. You can help by being supportive. You can help by reporting bugs and issues in a constructive manner. You can help by being patient. You can actually make a difference, each and every one of you, on how quickly things get out, how well they are, how happy and motivated the team is. So you guys are all in a way part of the team, and hopefully you can think of it from that perspective, and use the resources that you have available to help us and help you make this the best that it can be. So once again, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I think I speak for most of the team when I say thank you to the community for being here with us through all of this. And just get ready, because it's going to be a wild ride for the next few months and the next few years, probably, in the Splinterlands. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
When chaos reigns and hope is lost, when your darkest days aren't saved by the dawn, we bring the light to help guide the way. We are with you. We are the Rift Watchers. When your enemies have spread far and wide, when you're out of places to run and hide, follow the runes, help is on the way. We stand with you.